Hello sculpture students, Mr. Shaver here. I'm going to tell you today about how you can design and create your own amphora vessel using a template and coils. So I'm going to dive into it here. So an amphora vessel is basically what you might think of as a traditional vase, right? It's got a foot, which is what it sits on. It's got a body, it has a shoulder, the widest part, has a neck, the thinnest part, and has a lip. There are endless variations of amphora vessels that you can find out there on the internet or to design them. So there's a bunch of different ways you can make this. It's a fairly generic shape, but traditionally called an amphora. So I've come up with a way that I think will help you create your own. So let's get into it. So first thing I'm going to do, the first thing I have already done, but I'll show you how to do is if you take a piece of paper, fold it in half. This is the easy way to help you create your template. So once I have my paper folded in half, I can draw out. Now I like to use the entire paper. You're drawing onto the folded end. So maybe I'm going to create a small foot. I'm going to go into creating a nice tall, wide shoulder, very tall shoulder, and then the neck and the lip. The lip is the very tippy top. So here's our shape, right? Once we have that, you can cut it out. So I've already cut one out. So once you cut along the fold, you will have your full shape. Ta-da, this is what my amphora vessel is going to look like. Okay, so keep this, and then what you're going to do is get your piece of cardboard, right? Just make sure it's big enough. And you can fold your paper around the cardboard. So I'm going to make sure that the bottom of the vessel, I'm going to lift this up a little bit easier to see. Make sure the bottom of the vessel is in line with the cardboard. Okay, so I'm going to do it right here so that I can use that. Then I'm going to trace it onto it. So I'm going to come here and let's go ahead and trace it. Okay, and then keep your paper around just in case you need it. So now this is what I need to make a template. Okay, I'm going to cut this out, and then I need to use the negative space. And I'll show you what I mean. So this is the vase I showed you earlier. This is the amphora I made. Here is the template I used to help create it. Is it exact? No, and remember the clay shrinks a little bit over time, so the exact size is not what it once was. But this was the template I helped me make this vase. So you have your cardboard. Okay, you're going to cut this out. Now remember when you're cutting cardboard, and I'm using an X-Acto knife, so be careful. No fingers behind the X-Acto knife. When you're cutting cardboard, you're cutting multiple layers of paper. So you don't need to get it the first cut. So you don't need to sit there and saw away at the cardboard. You get a nice first cut. And then you might have to go back and just cut the other layers of that paper to make sure you've gotten all the way through. Okay. This piece I don't need. You can keep it around if you need it, if you think you might need it. This is the piece I need. Now, do I need this entire piece of cardboard? No, I'm going to cut off this top part. I don't need it. But I need this. This is what I want. Okay, so I'm going to keep this around. This is my template for, the shape of my vessel. All right? This is going to help you figure out and be able to spin it and make sure everything's working. Now, if you look at the bottom of mine, okay, if you look at the bottom of the shape, right, I've created a foot that kind of goes out. So instead of using coils to make that, I used a pinch pot, all right? That will serve as the bottom part of my vessel. And if I use my template, all right, it looks like it's a little bit tall. So what I can do is I can take my knife and maybe cut off a little bit of this clay I don't need and get it to kind of match up better with my template. All right, so that's better. It's matching my template. Okay, now that I had this other area that I want to create. Now, by this time, you should know how to score and slip. So I'm going to skip the scoring and slipping that you would do between each one of these pieces because you don't want to sit here and watch me score and slip things. because you know how to do it. So I'm going to talk about when I would do it, but I'm going to skip ahead to putting the pieces together so that you can see how I might do it without you waiting forever for me to smooth everything out. So again, I have my pinch pot. I'm going to lower the whole computer so maybe it's easier to see the shape here. There we go. So here's my template, right along the edge. I want to create a little flat disc that will go in the middle here. So I'm going to create myself a little slab. I'm going to try and get it as round as I can. Now we have templates for that too. We have lots of circles you could use to make circles. But now what would I do in between here? Of course I would score and slip. So I'd score and slip here, add these together. So then I have this part of the template. Look, it's going quite well. Now I want to build up this part. So this is where we use the coils. All right, I've demonstrated the coils before, right, and talked about how to use them. Now, because I'm building the kind of bottom part of my vessel, I'm going to keep my coils a little bit on the thicker side, right? So closer to an index finger, all right, as opposed to your pinky. But as you build up, then you can get smaller. But if you do it the opposite way, it's going to collapse on you. So it's okay to go a little bit chunkier at the beginning. So once again, I would score and slip my piece on. So I'd score and slip in between these. Now there's two ways you can do this. We can do it the way I've shown you before, where you cut here. Okay, you can do that nice diagonal cut. So maybe I cut a little diagonal there. I do diagonal cut here. I bring them together. I smooth it out and I keep going. That's option one. Okay. Option two, I'm going to make another coil so you can see what option two is. Maybe I'll make it a little bit longer here. Is you can continue to spiral. Okay. So I'm going to roll out a nice coil. All right. Now take your time when you're doing this. You might have to go slower than you think so that the clay has time to kind of dry and catch up to your work pace. Because if you go too quickly, the clay is going to be real wet and it's not going to hold the form that you were trying to get it to do. So take your time doing this. Make sure it's real stable. So I have a nice big coil. Okay. What I could do here is I could wrap it around. Now I'm going on the outside edge because I am trying to build out now, right? So I'm going on kind of just the outside edge there. But what you could do is continue the coil and keep spiraling it. Which again, you're going to want to kind of score and slip in between. Okay? And then as you're smoothing it out, as you're putting it together, you can check it. Oh, looks like it was a little too narrow. So I can make this a little wider up against my template. This is what the template is for. As you build it, you can use it to help you get the main shape. Okay. Now, obviously, there's a lot of details that I could go over here, the intricacies of smoothing, but the main aspect is you're going to create yourself a little template. You're going to cut it out of your cardboard. You're going to make a plan to build this. As you're building, like I said, you might have to pause and let the clay harden a little bit. Coils at the bottom can be thicker. Coils at the top can be thinner. Don't do it vice versa. And make sure you're kind of scoring and smoothing everything together as you go. Use your template to get your beautiful amphora shape. That is the main components to starting this project. Hopefully that was helpful. And I'll see you next time.